How's it going, everybody? Today is the big day. The huge update finally came through with the historic legend players, and there's a couple other changes. I'm not sure if I'll get onto those because those are kind of minor and really insignificant. But let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So I think it's this one. They actually changed without. Okay, never mind. It's not that one. They actually changed the historic players and they added a completely new type of player, like brand spanking new. That's never been seen before. I think pretty much the entire community assumed that it would be brand new legend cards with maybe some kind of small tweak to make them slightly better than your standard legend. Okay, here's the boring stuff. Okay, yeah, one of the smaller things that they finally put in the universal DH for the National League, and instead of adding a batting spot, they also applied the 26-man roster and added a middle reliever, which is kind of crappy. I would have much rather they added a bench batter because then in league mode you could get more rewards from more pinch hits. As small as that may be, it's at least something. Adding a middle reliever really doesn't do anything, I don't think. I mean, like, isn't the whole point of a long reliever the pitcher that you use when your team's just getting shelled and you just want to use a guy to get the game over with? Why would you need three middle relievers? Okay, so yeah, they eliminated the 2021 seasons from Master League and Standard League, the new DH, which I already mentioned. Okay, here's the big one. Most of you probably were well aware of the players that they've added, but here's the real surprise here. They added Supreme versions of all of these players, which is kind of overpowered, in, at least in my opinion, because some of these players are ridiculously strong as a base. Like I'll get into those in a minute. I'll show you guys the collections and the new players and all their base stats and stuff like that. Some of them are absolutely insane. But here's okay, so basically all of their effects really come into play after you black diamond the card, which is 200 black diamond pieces. I actually would have expected 250 or 300 pieces, to be honest with you, based on how powerful these cards are. But I mean, 200 black diamond pieces is pretty reasonable. That's the same as a legend. So it gives you the +2 stats. That's basically a vintage bonus. That's really not anything new. Special train level 10, that's not anything new. Legend skill available, that's not anything new. But the biggest things is now you can train these cards and only these cards up to level 30, which is actually pretty nice. That's a 6 OVR boost, and since you're training the card, as long as you're like a mid game or end game player and you've got plenty of coin and level reset tickets, I mean you're gonna be able to get some absolute monster trains. Like on a batter, 30 power shouldn't be that should be like the new baseline for a good batter train is 30 power and like 20 to 25 contact and eye. That's going to be the new normal on the Supreme cards for their training. Also, you can use stat amp tickets twice for a total of 5. And one of the most interesting things is, oh, I don't think they mentioned, okay, yeah, they do. So you can reset the player's level to 20 if you train them at 21 or higher. So trying to think of how you can game that. Basically you can get like a standard train, like if you got a supreme pitcher and you just want to train it for as much left side location and velocity as possible up to level 20, or I mean I suppose you can finish it to level 30 if you want to use some amps, like if you have tons of good amps laying around and you don't want to and you don't really care that you're risking them having to retrain the card. So you can get a really, really good, like a left side train at level 20 of something like 18 location, 19 velocity, which is a really nice train. And the problem with a train like that is if you ever go to reskill the card and you get like Dom or Finesse as a skill, you're most likely going to have, in most cases, you're going to have to retrain the card. I mean, some players have huge discrepancies between like their base stats. Like some pitchers are really finesse heavy, some pitchers are really dom heavy, but in general they're pretty well balanced. So if you have a well balanced left side train and then you roll dom or finesse, you're probably going to have to retrain the card, at least the normal way on a normal card. With this mechanic, you don't have to do that anymore. You can get a really, really, really good standard train going up to level 20, and then you can finish the card if you want, or you can wait until you get skills on the card and then train it to level 30 and use those last 10 levels to reset just those 10 levels. And then because like the example that I mentioned, 18 location, 19 velocity, well, you could turn that into either a dom train or a finesse train by going pretty by giving the last 10 levels pretty much mostly location, breaking ball, or velocity and fastball stats. So it really allows you to swing a really nice standard train up to level 20, either towards finesse or dom bonus. That's probably the best part of it, because to be honest with you, for the last year or so, whenever I get a pitcher, assuming it's like a SIG or a legend pitcher that I get at silver or gold, obviously it's way cheaper to train a player when it's silver or gold than a diamond, but simply because some of the best skills in the game require very specific trains, I usually grade increase the card to diamond and then get skills and then train the card. So this basically you can kind of bypass that. You can train the card however you want to up to level 20 as a silver or gold, then grade increase the card, then get skills on it, and then do whatever you want for the last 10 levels. And if it doesn't work out, then you just reset it back to 20. Like, there's really no need, after you get an insanely good train up to level 20, there's really no need to reset it based on skills, because you can just use the last 10 levels to achieve whatever bonus you want. Okay, player book. I really don't think, as long as there's no rewards in the OVR analysis room, it's probably not a big deal. I'm just going to skip that. I think that's pretty much it. Okay, yeah, so I don't know if I missed it or if it didn't mention it, but one of the other pretty significant changes to the Supreme cards, a mechanic that doesn't exist on any other card, is you can actually buff up their condition past up condition, which is plus 5 to everything. And I assume that it's plus 10. It's called max condition. I assume that it's basically just double the up condition. And because also any gear that you have applied to your team, the effects of that gear is doubled on the Supreme players. So let's say you're running all gold gear plus 5 location plus 5 batting power plus 5 batting eye, etc. It's actually going to register on the Supreme card as plus 10 for those stats, which is actually pretty good. That's actually really, really nice for club battles and for Sundays on ranked. Player reserve expansion. Okay, I think they upped the total maximum reserve from 155 to 206, which is actually pretty huge. Yeah, okay, they bumped it to 156 when they added the one 26 player to your roster. That's weird. Okay, so then they added a new event where you can get a basic vintage version of the new players. So you can get a Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Brock, Steve Carlton, Cy Young. It's only going to be the normal vintage version. So that's really not a huge deal unless you really, really want a particular player, but you're not willing to shell out the money for the historic pack. And actually, now that I mentioned that, let's show you the historic pack. So it's $50 for one pack. One pack gives you one card. I think the chances, I'm not going to go through the chance and scroll through everything just to find it, but these packs, they contain the normal vintage SIG cards and the Supreme cards. Based on what I've heard on the forums and stuff, I believe it's a 15% chance to open a Supreme player and probably like a 5% chance to open a signature player. Which, to be honest, I think this is way too much of a gamble for my personal taste. If you're an endgame player and you spend tons of money, might as well. Also, another thing that I forgot to touch on with the Supreme players is it actually has the legend mechanic where it applies the full deck bonuses that the rest of your team gets. So if you're running like a Padres deck or an Indians deck and you get a Babe Ruth or a Cy Young, it's still going to give you the plus 10 stats. So that's pretty nice. I mean, you can use these cards in any team, and they are pretty strong. So they're definitely going to be better than using a non-team sig as your 25th player. And you don't even, since they count, they don't. It's not even your 25th player. It's just basically a legend player. It counts towards your set deck bonus. So yeah, that's a pretty. I don't know. I really hate that they added the gamble aspect of it. Like, to be completely honest, if this was $100 and it was a random Supreme historic player, I would probably buy that because my team kind of needs starting pitching and it kind of needs a third outfielder to complete my outfield. I mean, if that was the case, I probably would buy one of these, especially since I still have the off-season grade increase to use it on. But I'm not going to gamble hundreds of dollars and maybe get like a Lou Brock or something like that if I do get a Supreme card. So I personally won't be buying any of these. I kind of recommend it if you're running like a Yankees deck and you're kind of a mid game to early late game and you might need like a significant upgrade at your outfield position. That 2021 Babe Ruth card is an absolute monster. It is probably the best batter in this entire game as an adjusted OVR basis. Speaking of that, let's get into the new cards here. So Babe Ruth and Cy Young both have Boston years, which is kind of interesting. So these are his base stats. It's really not. I mean that's slightly better than your average vintage starting pitcher because your average vintage starting pitcher has lower than 70 base velocity. It's not a great card. It's got stamina one, fastball two, which is definitely not optimal for a pitcher. But you'd be able to get that card up to level 30, and plus with the other bonuses and mechanics, it's a pretty good card. I'm not gonna lie. Cy Young's quite a bit better. He's got quite a bit more location. Both very nice cards. And let me go show you their Sig cards. They added, looks like they added one Sig card per historic player. They didn't add two, at least per version, anyways. There's only one Cy Young. So Babe Ruth's Sig year is pretty similar, almost the same as his Supreme card. Not quite though. And Cy Young's a little bit better. You're basically trading velocity for location, though. I don't know. They're both decent cards. Like, I'd be really happy if I pulled them as a SIG, but I'm not going to dish out hundreds of dollars trying to chase those cards. Even though I would like to have a Supreme card, that would be nice. but I just don't like the gambling aspect of it. I I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars and end up with nothing helpful. Okay, so next team, Mickey Mantle, one of the best batters in the entire game. Look at those base stats. That's ridiculous. 78 OVR. I mean, that's just an insane card right there, but it gets even better because Babe Ruth, oops, same OVR but lower right side stats, so he just an absolute monster. 82, 90, 88. I believe he's the only player in the game that they gave higher than 89 power. I think 89 power used to be the highest that they gave an actual normal player, as in not a live player with live stats. Of course, we had last year we had Schwarber and Otani with like 100 and 102 power, or something ridiculous like that during the season. But I believe that's the only card in the game that has 90 power. Now let's take a look at their new SIGs here. It's funny, one of the Boston teammates in my clubs, he actually pulled the SIG version of this card right here, 2021 Babe Ruth. And as far as a normal type card, I don't know if you can consider the Supremes normal, because it's like basically they took like their entire season or maybe like their prime years or something, and then just like combined them into like an average base stat, but with their SIG cards, it's just a standard format with one season. And again, that has 90 power. He's basically the only player in this entire game that they allowed to have 90 power. I mean, I'm okay with that. I think it's kind of dumb that they used to have like a glass ceiling of 89 power, and that was the highest you could possibly get. And I guess Babe Ruth is one player that's worthy of breaking through that glass ceiling there. But those stats are just absolutely insane. Let's take a look at Mickey Mantle. Pretty good. Not nearly as good as well, I shouldn't say not nearly, because that's still a ridiculously good card. Not as good as Babe Ruth, but that's just a ridiculously good card right there. Next is Cardinals, because they actually have two cards. I didn't even realize that. Carlton was given a signature Cardinals year. Okay, so this is obviously the worst card out of the bunch. 84 speed and only 70 power, but you know what? That's not a terrible card. That's going to be the kind of card that you can still load up on power and die when you're training it, and as long as contact is third, you should have absolutely no problem whatsoever achieving the maximum barrel it up bonus of 240 contact and speed. I mean, he's got almost 200 at level 1, then you're going to be able to train the card to level 30. I mean, plus set decks, he basically has 220 right off the bat, and you'd only need to train 20 contact and speed combined to get the full bonus. So let's take a look at their SIG card. Lou Brock. This is actually the worst of the two seasons that they put on when they previewed the cards. I mean, 3 home runs. I'm actually surprised that he has 63 power. They could have actually given less than that. Like, let's compare that to Ozzie Smith. Okay, 62 with 0 home runs. Okay, never mind. I thought maybe his power was 60 or 59 or so. But I guess that's a reasonable comparison. But I'd be kind of upset if I pulled this card. If I opened a bunch of those packs and I opened up one Supreme card and it was an Ozzy, or not Ozzy Smith, a Lou Brock, I'd be slightly upset with that because, well, I mean, his SIG cards. The Supreme version is a bit better than his SIG card, I guess. That's really not terrible. But yeah, that's definitely that's like the one card that you would hope that you don't get if you get lucky enough to get one. Oops, I didn't do Carlton. If you get lucky enough to get one Supreme card. That's not bad for a vintage card. That's on the higher end of velocity. It seems to follow the vintage pitcher rubric of stamina and fastball one, location two, or I'm sorry, one and two, stamina, fastball, location three, and then usually like breaking ball four and velocity five. It's a pretty solid, balanced overall card with decent velocity for a vintage pitcher. So I wouldn't be mad at all if I was running a Cardinals team and I pulled that card. I'd actually be pretty happy with that. I believe people have said on the forums that he's now basically the third best signature starting pitcher behind, I think 13 or 14 Wainwright, and then Jack Flaherty, 18 or 19, probably 18 or 19 actually. Yeah, that's probably the best. That's definitely the best Cardinals pitcher. So the Cardinals actually kind of lucked out. They got a really nice signature pitcher, and then a halfway decent, I guess, an acceptable Supreme player too. So let me try to think if there's another one that I'm missing. Nope, I think I hit on all the Supreme players. So yeah, that's about it. That's a pretty significant update. Those Supreme cards are somewhat overpowered. I'd say they're probably, I don't know if they're necessarily better than a legend at this point, or a Sig player with three blue skills, as long as they're good skills. The one thing that surprised me is that they're not a literal legend card, so they don't automatically come with all level 3 skills. You have to level them up, or you have to skill them normally. They're a standard player as far as skills are concerned. And there were some theories that maybe they would get like unique, a fourth skill that like gives you a slight buff in some stat or something like that, but that didn't happen. So yeah, those Supreme cards are pretty solid. They're probably going to be, mm, because, well, their bonus really benefits them in club games. So they might be the best card in the game, assuming that you don't get a Lou Brock, or like, I don't know. The two pitchers are halfway decent, but if you happen to roll a Supreme Babe Ruth, it's basically probably the best batter in the entire game right there. So there's at least that aspect of it. You at least have the ceiling of basically acquiring the best card in the game. All right, so that's the rundown with the new players, the new mechanics, and a couple of the new additions and changes that they made to the game. Uh, you can also get a premium skill change ticket from this new event. Yeah, you can get one premium skill change ticket and two regular skill change tickets and diamond packs. So that's pretty nice. They at least give you some nice items. Because your average player really isn't going to have much use for these cards. I mean, if you're a Yankees team, you might be able to use the normal vintage Babe Ruth and use like a $50 grade increase because that is going to be, as long as you choose the 21 season, it's probably going to be about as good a card as a standard um, outfielder signature player would be. Probably a little bit better than like a low end, like a Brett Gardner, but probably at or around the same level as like a Mike Judge, or not Mike Judge, Mike Stanton or Aaron Judge. So that's actually not a terrible addition. I mean, you're basically getting a guaranteed card for free, and some of them are actually somewhat useful. Like, I don't think anybody would ever grade increase a normal Lou Brock. I think that's kind of a waste, but Mickey Mantle is really good, but that Babe Ruth 2021 is just an absolute monster. So yeah, that'll wrap up this video. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't release Team Select Sig packs today. I really thought they were going to. I think they did it on December 30th, so it's not like it's too early or anything. I suppose they'll probably do that on Friday morning. So yeah, I'll be making probably another video on Friday afternoon with team select stuff with this account. So have a nice rest of your week. Thank you.